Most people think mental strength is obvious. They imagine someone confident, fearless, always in control. But in reality, mental strength often looks very different. In fact, some of the strongest people mentally don't even realize it themselves. Because true mental strength isn't loud. It doesn't need attention. It shows up in small, quiet behaviors that most people overlook. And there's a good chance you might be doing these things every day without knowing what they actually mean. You spend a lot of time thinking about your life, not just what's happening, but why it's happening. You replay conversations, you analyze decisions, you question your own reactions. To some people, this looks like overthinking, but in reality, it's self-awareness. And self-awareness is one of the strongest psychological traits a person can have. You don't run away from uncomfortable emotions. When something feels wrong, you notice it. You sit with it. Even when it's confusing or painful. Most people distract themselves. They avoid thinking too deeply. But you don't. And that ability to face your own emotions is a quiet form of strength that many people never develop. You've learned to be alone without feeling completely lost. You might not always enjoy it, but you can handle it. You don't need constant noise, constant validation, constant attention. And in a world where most people are afraid of silence, this makes you different. You question things, not in a negative way, but in a curious way. You don't automatically accept everything you hear. You think about it. You process it. You try to understand what's actually true. That kind of thinking takes effort, and most people avoid it. But you don't. You've been through situations that changed the way you see people. Maybe you trusted someone and got hurt. Maybe things didn't go the way you expected, and instead of breaking completely, you adapted. You became more aware, more careful, more observant. That's not weakness, that's growth. You notice patterns in behavior, small things, tone of voice, energy shifts, inconsistencies. You can often tell when something feels off, even if you can't explain it right away. That's not overthinking, that's pattern recognition. And it's a sign your mind is paying attention on a deeper level. You don't always need to prove yourself. You've reached a point where not everyone needs to understand you. Not everyone needs to agree with you. And that level of internal stability is something most people spend years trying to build. You've learned to move on, even when you didn't get closure, and that's not easy, because the mind naturally wants answers. It wants explanations. But sometimes you accept that you won't get them, and you keep going anyway. That's strength. You feel deeply, more than most people. And while that can be overwhelming at times, it also means you experience life in a richer, more intense way. You notice details, you care more, you connect more deeply. And even though it can feel like a burden, it's actually one of your greatest strengths. You're still trying to understand yourself. Even now, you reflect, you question, you grow, and that process never really stops. Because mental strength isn't about reaching a final point where everything is figured out. It's about continuing to evolve, even when it's uncomfortable. So if you recognized yourself in some of these, there's a good chance you're much mentally stronger than you think. Not because you're perfect, but because you keep going. And sometimes, that's the strongest thing a person can do.